Sky Squad, we are back in the building. And of course, y'all, we got to talk about this interview that Carlos King did with Laura Govan from Basketball Wives. And y'all know what? This interview, it brought back so many memories of the old days of Basketball Wives. And we dive into some things that I am just like starting to remember a bit more and more. And I'm like, oh my God, it's making me want to go back and really watch season 2 because I feel like some things happen in season 2 behind the scenes that we really need to talk about. So let's go ahead and dive on into the tea. Now, I'm going to try to take this in the order of which they talked about on the interview. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. Hit that notification bell button. I am still traveling, so you're getting this video with the audio only, but we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program in the next couple of videos. However, we got to talk. So one of the first things that I felt like was really kind of discussed in terms of like things that we might want to know is that Laura's relationship with Gloria is still as complicated as ever. Though they are a lot older at this point and they are working through their issues, the general sense that I get from this interview is that Laura still has some major issues with Gloria, but that maturity have allowed her to handle her situation with Gloria a lot better. I mean, she still loves her. That's still her sister, obviously, but I still don't know what is at the, like, what's at the center of their relationship. We get into this rumor that it was actually Gloria who allegedly slept with Shaq and that Laura was the one that ended up taking the fall for all of that back in the day. Now, this goes counter to what Shaunie seemed to imply in her book, for which Laura did feel ambushed on Basketball Wives, because she says that really what we didn't see was that people kept trying to bring up the book, and she really has some words for Evelyn, but we'll get to that in a second. So I'm wondering if that is the case, because Carlos did ask if, and Laura didn't really give us a real clear response on it. She simply says that she wants to have the opportunity to have that conversation with Shaunie because she was expecting to have somewhat of a sit down with Shaunie because Shaunie had DM'd her. She says she's really cool with Shaunie at this point in terms of, just caring about her kids and whatnot, but that she thought they were turning a page because Shaunie allegedly DM'd her and basically said that she wanted to clear it up, that she was not the reason why Laura was no longer welcome back to Basketball Wives before now. But according to Laura has heard from producers associated with the show that it was indeed Shaunie who was essentially allegedly blackballing her from returning back to the show. So let's take things back to Gloria with that regard. My question then is, if this allegation is true, that it was allegedly Gloria that slept with Shaq and not Laura, then maybe that is what has ultimately caused the huge rift between Laura and Gloria. Now, with that being said, when Point Blank asked about the rumor and about specifically the excerpt in the book, which Evelyn brought up, at first, Laura is basically like, I'm not going to clear anything up until I have a conversation with Shaunie. And in that conversation with Shaunie, I'm going to do her like she did me. Basically meaning she's going to essentially call Shaunie out for maybe some things that she has done. Now, when she doesn't necessarily clear it up right away, my first thought is, okay, well, you did it. I mean, I don't know, because here's the thing. If you didn't do it, just simply say, no, I didn't do it, right? In my opinion, why let the world continue to think anything otherwise if you didn't do it? But unless she's just committed to this story. But then later on in the interview, I don't know if you guys peeped this, but she let it slip that whole story about her being the person that allegedly did that with Shaq was a lie. So she pretty much confirms that it's not true, but I felt like that was a little bit of a slip up. So she also talks about how she felt ambushed coming back to Basketball Wives because she was expecting, since she got that DM from Shaunie, that she would be having a conversation with Shaunie on camera. That never happened. She's waiting and waiting and waiting for Shaunie, and she knew that she was only going to have a certain amount of days for which that was going to happen. It never happened. She also felt like Evelyn set her up because she also reveals in the interview that she allegedly had some pretty intimate conversations with Evelyn while they were on the trip. So for then Evelyn to bring out this audio of Shaunie speaking about what sounds like Laura and Shaq, she felt like, oh, this is what you're doing after we just had this, great conversation. And she's like, I know Evelyn. So that's what's also crazy to me is that you didn't just pull me to the side and say, oh, listen, this is what's going on. This is what I want to know. No, you chose to make it a messy moment for TV. And she was like, I get the TV game because I know what it is. But she feels like you do that with somebody that you don't know. You don't do that with somebody that you are cool with. So I could feel that as well. But there's a part of me that kind of feels like I've long said this. Well, not long, but I feel like I've felt this for most of this past season of Basketball Wives, that Evelyn is kind of playing like the Giselle role. And what I mean by that is the person who's getting the thing started. That's pretty much what I mean. Because notoriously in the past, Giselle has been the person on Potomac that would get things started, right? And usually there is an instigator in every show, and usually they're one of the leads. So that's just what it is. So a lot of people felt like this past season that Evelyn was doing Shaunie's dirty work. And I can definitely see how it would appear that way, especially when Carlos kind of confirms that, knowing the production world the way that he does, that it sounds like it could have been Shaunie that was preventing Laura from coming back to Basketball Wives. So nothing was ever cleared up, but she does also assert that she is going to be coming for Evelyn. And when asked, I'm not even going to make y'all wait, when asked about if she's coming back for next season, she says, yes, it's likely that she is, despite what a certain person may want. I'm wondering who that certain person might be. Okay. But she is going to have a conversation with Evelyn because she's like, she kind of drags Evelyn just a bit because she's like, you're talking about me and these allegations about me, which I think at that point she says it was a lie. But she says, let's talk about you. You got the big three. You got the NFL, the MLB, I don't know what these other sports titles are, but she basically goes down the line. And so for me, I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I think, again, you need somebody like Laura on that show who can essentially go against the grain with the status quo. Like, she's not going to just fall in line behind Evelyn or Brooke. She also calls out Brooke. She doesn't really get too deep into it, but she did feel like, I guess she was disappointed in the way that Brooke handled the situation with Shaunie's book. And she kind of felt like they were all being Shaunie's minions, but she herself is not there to be Shaunie's minion. So again, I do think you need somebody on a cast who can go against the grain and stand on their own. And that's one of the things I do like about Laura. At the time, I didn't appreciate it, I don't think, because I didn't really understand her. But now hearing her stories about everything that she's been through and the way she speaks, you can kind of feel like, I don't know, I felt like what she was saying was true. She comes across very believable and matter of fact. Speaking of which, in those early days of Basketball Wives, she also spills the tea on what happened between her and Drea. So I don't know if you guys remember watching the show back in the early days, but there was a point where it seemed like there was this like abrupt divide between Drea and Laura, but it was never completely explained. And I think that we all had maybe heard things about it, but Laura does confirm that she essentially found some documentation that proved to her that Gilbert, her ex, who she admits that she was never married to. It was more of a common law situation, who is also allegedly still making problems for her to this day. Well, I guess it's not alleged if you listen to his podcast. So here's the thing. She found out that he allegedly paid $25,000 to Drea and then had her flown out to LA. And I don't know if this was specifically to do Basketball Wives, but that Drea, was allegedly still messing around with Gilbert while establishing and building a friendship with Laura. So when we see this sudden flip in the show, which they do not talk about at all, Laura says she showed up to set where she found out that Drea was filming. She marched right up to her and apparently put paws on her, beat the brakes off of her, spit on her, all kinds of stuff. Now, Laura does admit that she's not proud of her actions, but, I guess finding out that the man she's, had kids with and is still kind of in and out with at that point in time, she's like, you're not going to be able to just come in and interrupt what I'm trying to build and think you're going to get away with it. So she did what she felt like she needed to do. Now, listen, I ain't got no judgments on it because as she reflects on it, she does state she at that point in time, she didn't know how to use her words. But I can see where she was coming from. I can see the emotion behind that. But her upset was really also with production because she's like, y'all didn't show any of that. They didn't focus the story on any of that. They didn't kind of express what really happened. So at the reunion, she says it looks like everyone is bullying Drea, but what they don't realize is what had actually happened behind the scenes and that it should have been properly explained. But that's also her fear with even sitting down and having a ponderosa with Shaunie, is that she feels like even if she does express herself, she's not gonna it's not gonna air the way that it actually happened. So that is her fear with regards to that. She also shuts down a rumor that she says Gilbert, her ex, is telling people in and out of the country, or was telling people in and out of the country, that she allegedly had relations with Vincent, who was Tamar's husband. So she's like, that was a lie. And she says that he later on came back to her and said that he never even actually believed it. But yet and still, this rumor is running rampant. So there's a lot going on and a lot of potential for Laura to come back to Basketball Wives next season and tie up a lot of loose threads. But the question that I have is, will we actually get to see what really happened? Because the question that we have to ask is, if the truth or the reality that's being filmed doesn't follow the story that the show wants to portray, then will we actually see what really happened? And that's what we actually really want, is we want the truth. We want the reality of the reality, not the staged reality that y'all think we want to see, or that makes a certain person look good. But nevertheless, that's where we are. She digs a lot into what she's been through as a, co-parent with Gilbert Arenas. And, there's a lot of really sad elements to that story as well, especially just hearing about her, essentially being kicked out of the home with the kids and having to sleep in the car for 2 days. You really get the sense that she is going through quite a lot as a mom. So I think that there's a lot to her story that has yet to be really told properly. And I'm hoping that she does find an outlet to do so, though she does let us know that there is the potential of there's a potential project, I should say, that she has coming out with her sister. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Speaking of working with Gloria, she says it wasn't Shaunie that created Basketball Wives LA. She says it was her and Gloria that went to the network with the idea. She says they were having breakfast, I think, with Jackie Christie. She remembers having breakfast with having meetings, I should say, with each of the cast members to pull the show together. And then I think at some point it probably just came under the umbrella of Basketball Wives to really get the show launched, which then falls under, likely, Shaunie's purview if she is the person who created the Basketball Wives franchise in the beginning. So let me know, did you guys watch the interview? What did you think? How did you feel like Laura came across? I feel like she came across as very believable. At times, I did feel like she did use a lot of metaphors and kind of talked around certain things before finally getting to the truth of the matter. But I like her. I found her interesting. And I think that you need people like her on reality TV because you don't ever know what she's going to really say or do. But I feel like what she does say in that moment is authentic to her. So, like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Are you here for Basketball Wives returning with Laura Govan in the cast as a main cast member? Or will you be tuning in at all? Let us know in the chat down below, and I will catch you in the next video.